Hey, what's going on, guys? Rum Gaming here. Back to the video. Today's episode, I wanted to go over Restoration Druid. I'm kind of getting back into a lot of my healers right now. And first one I wanted to start with was Restoration Druid. And I wanted to kind of cover over what ramp is with Resto Druid. So ramp is going to be a scenario where we combine some of our spells and cooldowns to create a large peak in our healing, or a ramp in our healing. So we kind of got two phases. We got this build-up phase, and then on the other side, we have a payoff phase. So this is very important to playing something like Resto Druid because we are more of a proactive-based healer. And we kind of require knowing the damage before it actually happens. So you have to kind of ramp your healing into these big phases of either AoE or single target healing. And this comes a little bit stronger when you're running something like Flourish. Where is that? Flourish right here. Or something like Tranquility. So we're not running Flourish right now in Mythic Plus. But we are running Tranquility. So what you can do is sort of stack a lot of hots before you Tranquility and get a really strong Tranquility kind of supercharged by all your hots. So the way that works is if you're unfamiliar with the Restoration Druid Mastery, let me pull it up real quick. So here it is, Mastery Harmony. Your healing is increased by X% for each of your Restoration Druid heal every time effects on the target, reduced by each additional effect. So this does not necessarily increase your healing. It increases the healing that you do to that specific target. So we have to spread our healing out to different targets to get this increased healing effect. So what we can do is pair this with a very big cooldown, something like Tranquility, and ramp our heals up, stack our mastery up on all of our different targets, and that's going to make our big cooldowns heal for more. So it looks like we've had somebody to join us over here on this random rock in Dornagul. So just going to move over here real quick. Okay, let's go ahead and continue on with the guide here. So let's take a look at what a mini ramp might look like. So let's say you're in a normal Mythic Plus dungeon. You got 5 people in your group. What you're going to try to do is you're going to try to apply a rejuvenation to all of them. So the first thing you're going to try to do is get 5 rejuvenations up. And before you do that, if you do have an Innervate, go ahead and use Innervate before you go into a ramp phase so you can save mana. Rejuvenation is a very expensive spell, especially if you're putting out 5 of them. So just make sure, when you get Innervate up and you're about to go into a big heal phase, go ahead and pop your Innervate. But the way it would look is Innervate into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rejuvenations. We're running Germination, so we get the basically double rejuve. Then we go into a Swiftman, and then we would go into a Wild Growth for that increased Wild Growth effect, and then we go into something like a Tranquility. Now, all that was assuming, right, that you had like your Life Bloom up. All that was assuming that you had Efflorescence down. But, typically, Life Bloom and Efflorescence, you're just kind of maintaining them constantly and then making decisions around those like a ramp. Now, the reason that we Swiftman before we Wild Growth, that's very, very important, is due to our Soul of the Forest here. Swiftman increases the healing of your next regrowth or rejuvenation by 150%, or your next Wild Growth by 50%. So anytime that you do Wild Growth, you do want to try to Swiftman before it. So this is a very key part of playing Restoration Druid, is to get the most value out of your healing spells that you possibly can. So any big cooldown that you send, whether it's Tranquility, whether it's Convoke the Spirits, it doesn't really matter. You want to be ramping before you send those. Now, another thing that we kind of glossed over here is how do Grove Guardians work into this? And in this example, I'm just going to go ahead and use Convoke instead of Tranquility. It's on a shorter cooldown. I don't want to wait 3 minutes in between like showing you guys this stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and Efflorescence again, Life Bloom. We'll assume that those are already maintained before we go into our ramp. From here, we'll go ahead and get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rejuvenations. 4, 5. We'll go ahead and Swiftman, Grove Guardian, Wild Growth, Grove Guardian, Nature Swiftness, Convoke. Then 1 more Grove Guardians, and then we'll go ahead and spam as many regrowths as you possibly can. Now, the reason that we want to go into regrowths there is due to a talent called Abundance. I can spell, here it is. And Abundance, so actually 2 talents, really Abundance as well as Wildwood Roots. So Abundance, for each rejuvenation you have active, regrowth's cost is reduced by 8%, and its critical effect chance is increased by 8%, up to max 96. And then Wildwood Roots, Abundance now also reduces the cast time of regrowth by 5% per stack. So this can actually stack up to 12 total times. And one thing that's pretty cool about this is it actually stacks twice per person in Mythic Plus, right? If you're running Germination here. Because, right, we can apply Rejuve twice to a target. So what you can actually do is Rejuve twice on yourself and get 2 stacks of Abundance. Multiply that out by five other party members and you get 10 stacks of Abundance. Now, there's probably not going to be too many situations where you can stack up that many rejuvenations before you have to go into a ramp, but just know you want to get as many rejuves out as you possibly can before you go into that ramp phase, and just know that it stacks actually twice through Germination. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I just kind of wanted to explain what the Resto Druid ramp was. You know, you could also pair this if you're running something like Nature's Vigil, right? All that ramp healing that you'll do gets converted to damage. And that's one of the things that makes Resto Druid so fun to me is just like all the different little things that you can do that aren't super obvious. You can pull off like really strong sort of combo healing if you kind of know what's happening on the back end. Again, just to kind of reiterate what we've already talked about, you want to ramp into a big cooldown. You want to ramp into a Convoke. You want to ramp into something like a Tranquility. You want to ramp into something like a Flourish if you're taking it. You know, you don't have to go to obviously 10 stacks of Abundance. You know, if you just get 1 rejuvenation out on each target, that's going to be completely fine. But if you're very ahead of the game, then yeah, sure, you could get up to 10 stacks of rejuve in your ramp. Be very, very strong. All right, guys, that's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. See you in the next one.